intro. Welcome to your DEQ Online. This is the overview and account registration webinar to help public users sign up for different types of accounts. My name is Margaret Gardner. I'm the project change manager for this big modernization that we're going through in moving a lot of programs to your DEQ Online at our agency. I'm also one of the trainers. Joined with me is Jessica Lorenz, who is our Your DEQ Online trainer as well. And we team up, we do the buddy system so that we can keep track of questions and make sure that we're helping people with their learning process to figure out what they need to do to register accounts. We're also joined in the audience by Deborah Kimball, who's one of our wonderful help desk specialists. So thanks for joining, Deborah. And if needed, you can always unmute to add comments or to help answer questions. We'll go ahead and move forward now. So we have a number of topics to cover today. We will talk briefly about what your DEQ Online is, the concept of it, what this system is, what it means for DEQ. We'll also talk about public access. That's an important part of anything we do at DEQ because we're a public agency, and as much as possible, we try to move towards public transparency that doesn't require special requests. So we'll talk about that. And the main event, the meat and potatoes or the veggie burger of this session is registering the account. So we want to make sure that people have the information they need to figure out which account they should register for and set up the links. It's very typical registration of an online account, you'll notice in many ways, except for a couple points. And we'll talk about those. One of them is selecting which account type is appropriate for you, and then also making sure that your account is linked in the proper way so that you can go ahead and get involved in submittals. We'll also wrap up with a little talking about and showing you images of what the training and support pages look like, where you would find further information, further training for various programs. And then depending on how much time is left, we'll have some Q&A, some question and answer with whatever we haven't already answered during the session. Again, I'm going to ask that you go ahead and feel free to ask questions at any point. The image you see here is what the public portal looks like. So if you go to the Your DEQ Online help.oregon.gov webpage, if you just type that into your browser, you'll get there. You will see a link that says log in to Your DEQ Online, and it brings you to this page. You can see that there's that username, password, very, very typical layout, a little link for if you forget your password. And then the bar that says login lights up once you enter that information. There's also a button for registering an account and for public records. So we'll talk about those today. Also on that login is contact information so that you can get help. If you click the email address, it opens an email for that. You could also dial that number. And then also if you click online help, it should take you to the Your DEQ Online help.oregon.gov page, which is just chock full of good information. So what is the system? You may already be familiar with this. You may have already gotten communication from people at DEQ in any of the programs that have migrated their submittal process to this system. It's a cloud-based technology. So that means that it exists out there in that virtual cloud, and we as DEQ staff and the public who works with us all go to the cloud to access this system. It's a technology solution in that it helps us to do more efficient and streamlined business processes so that our service is improved and faster and better, and it's easier to work with us. And of course, our mission is to protect Oregon's environmental quality, and we partner with you to do that. So this serves that purpose. So let's talk more about what all of this means. So it's cloud-based, which means it's a virtual system. You don't need to jump through any hoops except for opening up a browser and logging in. It's as simple as that. It's secure. We're in a wonderful time with technology where the availability of technology to be able to be cloud-based and also have security measures in place, be secure for financial transactions, for sending information. This is a great time to be modernizing because systems and security measures are available to make this possible. It's centralized in that all of our DEQ offices across the state of Oregon use this one system for a number of programs. Not all of our programs, but many of our programs are moving to this new system. And that means that if you're in Western region, Eastern region, Northwest region, this is still the system for those programs. It's accessible from any browser, but we ask you not to use Internet Explorer. That's not unique to this system. Internet Explorer is not actually functional for many systems these days across the internet, the World Wide Web, just because it is outdated and doesn't have the same functionality. So we recommend things like a Chrome browser or Safari or other browser, Firefox, for example. The Your DEQ Online system is the perfect place for all your primary contact points. So if you're sending in a submittal and there's some communication about that, there is a function inside the system to communicate with DEQ staff, to see messages from staff. Safe, secure online payments. If you're doing submittals that have a payment tied to them, you can do that online now. This is a major breakthrough in that we've been just receiving cashier checks for decades and decades, for the first 50 years, in almost all programs at DEQ. And now we actually have a secure online system for payments. Expect consistent service across Oregon. I touched upon that centralized quality. Also, you can search published content easily. We'll talk a little bit about that when I talk about public access. This helps us, of course, reduce paper use, moving to digital formats, and also reduce mailing costs or traveling to the office in order to send in a submittal. You can do it online. If you have access to online, you can do it. And then also we have dedicated expert support. Not only do we have an in-house help desk that is specifically for the Your DEQ Online system, but we work with a vendor who provides this framework, this platform for us, and they support us in making sure the system is operational. With any online system, if there's some kind of glitch or some downtime for whatever reason, something happening in the world of in the virtual world, we have systems to help support remedying that and getting back on track. So that's what Your DEQ Online is. If anyone has questions, go ahead and feel free to post any questions you have about, any kind of high level, big picture, like what about this system, feel free to just post those. But we are going to move forward now to talk about public access. So public access in Your DEQ Online is limited to the data and the activity that happens in Your DEQ Online. So for instance, you getting your car inspected at a DEQ air quality station. That information is not going to be in this system. That program at DEQ has not migrated to this system. They have other methods. But any programs that are using this system and any submittals that you have entered into this system or others have entered, that is what we're talking about. Submittals and permits and other things like licenses and reporting obligation, what have you. The information that is public record inside the system is limited to what happens in this system and what was migrated to this system. That said, we still have a public records request process that people can go through to find any information at DEQ. We're all about public information. I'll talk a little more about that. With the public records button, and let me just back up a sec. The way to get there is simply click the Public Records button. Just wanted to make sure to point that out. So it's immediate access. You can see the published data. I say publish because DEQ checks a box in order to make sure that that is showing on the system. So for instance, if we get a request for sensitive information to be protected, then if that entity requests that of us, we can take measures to control what is immediately available so that we're not blasting sensitive information. So we publish data here, and the data right now, what it's looking like is it's submittal information and permit information. You can see at the top of the window there that there are two different areas you can toggle between. You can also look at a map view, or you can look at a grid view. And what you'll see in the left-hand side is a whole set of search criteria. So I am gonna mention here so that you can explore this on your own and we can move forward with account registration, that if you would like to learn more about this, go to your DEQ online help.oregon.gov, and there you will see a couple things. One is a video demonstration on how to search public records. Another is the public notice comments guide. It's a guide that helps you understand when there's a public notice, how to add your comment. And if you are interested in adding an attachment with your comment, then you do need the account that is the general public account at the very least. If you're going to be a responsible official or a consultant with an account in the system, you can also do public comment through that interface once you've logged in. So I would say this is your source of more information on that. And now I'll move on. If there are no questions, I'll move on to the main event, the big event, which is registering an account. We'll talk about these 4 topics, these categories. We'll start a registration. That includes picking an account type, pivotal moment. We'll activate the account. And for the responsible official, which we often refer to as the RO, we will look at what verifying identity looks like, identity verification, and then also what establishing links looks like. So in order to start the process, we click register account, that button right there on the login page. And as you would expect, the first step is to plug in your basic information. So basic information at the top of the page is followed by account type. That's where you'll make it a choice, security questions, and a final review before you initiate that account setup. I want to note here that this section says personal information, but we're not asking for your private personal life information. We're asking for your individual information. So what we mean is, what is your title? What is your first name, middle initial, last name, and who's your employer? We're looking at this as based on how you do submittals with DEQ, that's the information. So if you're a private homeowner, maybe that is your personal information. But if you are a consultant for a business or a responsible official, then use your professional information. It has to be your individual information, however, because the system and the security that's set up in the system is based on individual users, not groups of users. So I just wanted to mention that briefly, that it needs to be an actual person signing up for an account. This is the one opportunity you have in account setup to customize your username. So have fun with that. The system will automatically populate the username field, so you can just leave it and just remember it. But if there's a username that's more memorable for you, this is a username that I believe DEQ staff will also see. It's not a private username, but it's what you would use to log in. You can customize that. And there's a little note to the right when you are setting up your account. I recommend that when you're using the system and you see little notes and information bubbles, that you click on them so that you can learn about the system as you're getting started. So here I've filled out all this information. If I didn't in this example, what you would see is a red outline and a little word that says required. You would essentially complete all required fields. Very typical of any account registration online. Now we get to the juicy bits, right? Which account type is right for you? This is a question that I actually set up a little quick poll for, and I know there are just, we have 2 panelists in the room. We have 4 attendees. One of the attendees is a DEQ staff member. So I'm just gonna ask you, instead of running this poll, Arthur and Corey and Samantha, do you know which account type? Do you already have an idea of which account type you would like to be selecting? And I can go ahead and launch the poll, so you can click a box there, and that's where you're going to see a little bit of a description of that account type, but you can also unmute and just let us know. So I see somebody clicked responsible official so far. Just go ahead and, when you see that window, go ahead and click the boxes. I see 2 have chosen and 1, and so I think we are all set. I'm going to end the poll, which means I can share the results. They're just 3 people. It's not a lot of data, so this poll is kind of silly to do, but easy way for you to quickly say which one you think you'll be selecting. So we will talk about what these accounts can do and cannot do, and I'll go over that in just a second here. Let's see. So general public. I want to mention right here that I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. The general public account is essentially for making payments or adding an attachment when you are participating in comment on a public notice. The main event is the consultant and the responsible official, those 2 accounts. So I'll click here on a link. This is a link that goes to the account registration page. And then Deb, if I could get confirmation when I click this link, once it opens, are you able to see my screen and see that the page is open here for account registration? I see something in the chat. Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Deb. So we'll go ahead, and I want to show you a couple things about the 2 different main accounts with the most ability to do stuff in the system. So of course, these account registration applies to all the active programs that are currently using the system. This is the account registration page that I'm scrolling through. There's the user guide, the recorded webinar, and the fact sheet on registering an account. Now, this is more of a fact sheet on choosing an account type. And I'm going to go ahead and open that up. I'm just opening up many layers of things here for you. But I wanted to show you this, and you can always refer back to it, so that if after this session you're thinking, wait a minute, maybe I don't want the RO account, maybe I don't have signature authority, you can go here and look at the criteria. So what can each user account do? This is really the crux of what account you would want to choose. We can see that the general public account on the far right obviously just has a couple abilities. The consultant is the next level up. It has many more abilities than the general account. And the RO is the Cadillac of accounts, the responsible official. So the responsible official is able to link their account to facilities and to submittal groups. The consultant's not able to do that. What the RO does is links to those facilities and submittal groups so that they can start submittals and so that they can certify them and send them in. The consultant would have to be delegated by the responsible official. Once the responsible official sets up the consultant link in their account, it goes to that consultant, that permission, and the consultant is able to prepare submittals, including applications for new permits, renewals, amendments, name changes, etc., prepare reports. There is that ability to withdraw, amend, or revise submittals as determined by submittal type. submittal applications for permits and licenses, manage submittal history, correspond with DEQ, etc. There's a lot that you can do with that account, the consultant account. But what you can't do, what is limited to the RO, is not only linking to the facilities and submittal groups, which we will talk about, but also certifying and submitting, like final submittal of a submittal. I know that's two of the same word, but what I'm saying is certify and send in the submittal. The responsible official is the signature authority. So there is responsibility that goes with that. It's built right into the name of it. Now, who should select a responsible official account type? They must go through an identity verification process as well. But in terms of who should, it should be the legally authorized person to sign permit applications or licenses, certifications, notices, etc. Now, what that means is that would be someone who in different types of organizations would hold roles of responsibility. So I would say review that and think about that. And it may be that you're still clear, wouldn't change your decision to sign up for an RO account or consultant account. That may be clear. So I wanted to show you that and ask, does anybody have any questions about what different account types can do and what they're considering in terms of what account type to choose? So if you do have any questions, if you're not sure what to choose, you can go ahead and post that in the Q&A. And now I'm going to go ahead and go back to our slides. Once you've selected the account type, what you'll see is a description of that account type to the right on that window. So if I were to click consultant, description of consultant, etc. So when you click the account type, we're still in the early phase of account setup, but this leads to other decisions to make after you've confirmed your account. So the page that you're on here will be very simple at initial setup, but the bottom of this page is going to fill out with more information when you come back to confirm that account. Every account has to complete security questions. This is just part of the backbone of the security system. At where these security questions come into play for submittals is that when the responsible official certifies with a PIN number, certifies that final review, gets ready to go ahead and click the submit button, they also will get a randomly generated question from this list of 5 that they have chosen. And you need to remember your answers to these questions. These are just like the same kind of security question you'd come across with other online accounts. This is a layer of security that's important to protect your information and make sure that we are doing all the right things we need to do for security. So you could change these at any time when you're in your account, but you'll get one of these generated as a responsible official that you'll need to answer in order to finish submittal. Go to the next step. Once you have completed all that, there's the final review. Well, do I have everything filled out right? My name, my address, etc. And you can see a little checkbox here, I am not a robot. You know those times when they want you to prove that you're not a robot on an online system, and they show you a number of photos that are maybe include a crosswalk or a bicycle or a train, and they say, click all the boxes that include a crosswalk, for example. That proof that you're a human being interacting with a system is what they're asking for. I always laugh at the irony of a computer asking you to prove that you're a human, because the proof you would need to provide a computer is probably, they hold the key to the answers. So what's going on there? But it is a proven and known security level. So once you have completed that, you have I'm not a robot, and you're ready to click the register button. So all these layers add to a system that is secure for you. Registration is successful. This is where you see a message that directs you to go to your email and finish your account setup. Once you've done that, you can go back to login. So the email looks like this. You're going to receive an email that says, that it is from GovOnline at GovOnline SaaS. That is the name of this type of system that we use. So that's not a weirdo trying to spam you. That is a GovOnline interface, which is part of the Your DEQ Online system. You'll see dear and your name populated there. To activate account, please log in. This link will look a little different. You can see here UAT because this is our test or training site. We did this, captured this screenshot as a test because we don't set up dummy accounts in the live system. So this is what that looks like. So it would be similar to that without the UAT. You would click on that link and you'd use your login name and your temporary password that can be found on this email and your temporary PIN so that you can set up your own chosen password and PIN. So password, public portal, here's your temporary password, and now change your password. You'll enter your temporary PIN, change your PIN. Very, very typical of any online registration system. You send your information, they send you a confirmation email. You respond to that by completing the setup of your account. That sets you up to be able to log in. The other part of setup of your account is to associate your account with the facility and submittal group that I mentioned earlier. And then also, if you're a responsible official, to make sure that consultants have access to that. If you're a consultant, you don't do any of those links. You wait for those links to be sent your way from a responsible official. But the value of a consultant being in the room with us here and seeing this is that they can understand what the RO needs to do to make sure that that consultant has access the way they need it. And let's say, for instance, an RO set it up, but you're like, I just don't see my submittals that I should be able to do. Then you can point that RO to the instructions and you'll have some background on that. Once you've logged into the system, Your DEQ Online, the next step is to navigate to My Account. There are a couple ways to do that when you log in. There's a channel on the left that is a series of places you can visit, little links you can jump over to, and at the bottom of it is one that's called My Account. In the upper right corner is your name, and if you choose to add a photo of yourself, which is nice touch, then you can also navigate that way to your account. When you click on that, you see a little box open up and it allows you to click the pencil to edit your account. So we're going to navigate to the My Account area, and guess what's really familiar? This menu across the top, just like when you set up the account. Basic info, account type, password and PIN now is a new tab there. Security questions, we saw that before at account setup. And now we see consultants and verification as well. So more information to complete here in order to finish setting up. Very important to do. So once you have registered your account and you're a consultant, the next step is to make sure that the RO, responsible official, knows the exact email address you used when you set up your account. Because what we'll do is we'll go over verification, but then we'll go over to account type, and then we'll build on consultant links, and they're going to need that email for that step. So for verification, the idea is to make sure that a person is who they say they are, so that they can be held responsible for the activities that they do in this system, such as signed submittals that are official. So this applies to responsible officials only, because responsible officials are the ones who send in those submittals. They review, certify, and send them. First option is by far the easiest and quickest option. I highly recommend it, but also you kind of got to do this option first. So option one is EVerify. This is run by LexisNexis. It's a third-party nationwide verification outfit. They are secure, they're known, they're contracted with the state for this, and they do ask for personal information. Unlike your account here, where you would enter basic info that would be your work address and your name and your work phone number and your work email. In this case, for verification of your individual identity, you would use your home address. You would use your home information, your own personal information. And I want to mention here, so that it's really clear, we do not see or save any of that information that you enter for EVerify. It is an immediate pass through. LexisNexis does the verification immediately. And then that information is not held on to in any place. The only thing that gets held on to is, yes, this person is verified. It's a one and done, and you're verified. So once you've completed the information in the e-verification, the e-verify section, which it even asks for your last four of your social, which is a flag for me to say, is this secure? Let me tell you, it is secure. You have 3 opportunities to make e-verify work. Make sure that you're putting your first name, your last name in the way they need to be. Your address should be either your current address, or if you moved in the last 6 months, it should be that previous address, because LexisNexis processes this and looks at a valid address. And given the vagaries of like address changes and stuff, if you use a more recent address after a move, it may not be a successful verification. You get 3 attempts before you get bumped over to the paper process. We're always going to have a way to help you get verified, but this is by far quick and easy and the most streamlined way. If you have questions about that, let me know. We're going to move now to option 2. Let's say for some reason it just doesn't work out. Don't take it personally if EVerify doesn't work out for you after 3 times. I know I transpose no numbers from time to time, but also let's just say that it's just not working. For a small percentage of people, it just doesn't go through for whatever reason. That's not a reflection on you, and we have another way for you to verify. Option 2 is the electronic signature agreement. I'm going to call it the ESA to make it easier. This is something that you print and sign, and then you would mail the physical copy with the wet signature, the original actually, not the copy, but you would print it out and sign it and mail it in to the address on the form. There is the option, if you are in a hurry, to also email a digital copy of that. But I'm not saying instead of, I'm saying also, you still need to mail the wet signature agreement, because this agreement is the pivotal moment where you say, yes, on this last piece of paper that I need to send to DEQ, I do agree to use the electronic system and to keep track of my stuff there. And that's why it needs to be a paper wet signature in this way. So EVerify, yes, we are ready to accept that. That's electronic, no paper needed, you're all set. But if it doesn't work out, then that paper ESA is important to complete and send in. Once you've done that, when there is successful verification, we at DEQ process those forms, then DEQ notifies the responsible official by email, the email that you used for your account. And then DEQ activates the privileges in your DEQ Online so that the RO can start certifying and finalizing submittals. While you are waiting for that certification, that successful verification, you can start submittals, but you just can't finalize them. If there are any obstacles, the help desk will contact you, ask you for information, help you work through it. We'll be in touch with you, so we won't leave you hanging. Absolutely gotta mail in that paper wet signature. It's part of our legal requirements to be in line with the Environmental Protection Agency, which delegates almost all of our compliance related activity. And they have a framework in place for being able to use an electronic system. So that's what this is all about. We're trying to make it as easy for you as possible so you can send a digital copy so that we can process it faster. at your DEQ online at DEQ and we can update this. We now use .oregon.gov or by fax. You can also send it by fax. Any questions about EVerify? Any concerns? Anything you want answered around that? Okay. So the next step, and it looks like we have 20 minutes left in our session, so we're moving along here. This is good. Next step is links. So this is for the RO to do, but it's a wonderful thing for the consultant to know how it works, because the consultant depends on this to be able to do the work they do. So after completing identity verification and all your account setup stuff to this point is completed, next step is to link to submittal groups and facilities. So the RO sets up links to submittal groups, and that submittal groups includes groups like the asbestos licensing or 401 certification for dredge and fill or hazardous waste reporting obligations or etc. And then links to the facilities. An RO can link to a number of facilities or just one. A number of ROs can link to one facility. There's flexibility there in that, you know, businesses operate how they operate, and we do the best we can with this system to accommodate that. So if there are 5 ROs at OHSU, Oregon Health and Science University, they can all set up an RO account with OHSU, that one entity. Let's say there are different submittal types. Maybe one RO uses these 3 submittal types. Another RO uses a different 5, but maybe there's overlap. That's all okay. So what you'll focus on is, what do I need to do to set up the links for my facility and my submittal type, or multiple. After that, the RO links to consultants. Now this is the same kind of flexibility. One RO can link to multiple consultants, or many ROs could link to one consultant. Let's say there's this one consultant that specializes in a certain particular data gathering thing, and that consultant serves a number of ROs. Make sure that consultant sends their email address to those ROs and lets them know to link them. So the RO would link to the consultant and then extend their own permission to that consultant to initiate submittals for certain facilities. Now, rather than just these bubbles and the big high-level concept, I'm going to show you what it looks like in the system. And again, I hope that you ask me questions if you have them. We're happy to answer them. So up at the top of the screen that you see here, there's some familiar categories. We're in the My Account section that we navigated to: basic account info, account type, password, PIN, etc. So we're looking at account type. Now, initially, you click the button when you selected RO in this case. I'm going to speak to the ROs in the room. You click that button, and now your account is confirmed. You can't switch between roles because the roles require different things. For instance, you can't switch on your own, I should say. If something comes up where you need to switch, you can contact the help desk. But essentially, this is all fixed and in place. And the next step for the RO is the submittal group selection. So you would check the boxes. You can see here, there's a gasoline transporter permit. You would click that box if that applies to you. NPDES general, that's a water quality permit. You would click that. Over here, we have climate protection program, which is newly launched a few weeks ago. And then hazardous waste, which was launched in the fall. What you'll see here is little thumbs up next to them, because when you click that, great, DEQ is allowing you to be associated with that program and with that submittal group. If you see a yellow triangle, it's purely because DEQ goes through an approval process before that ability to link to them is granted. The placeholder is here. You've gone ahead and checked the box, and it's there. As long as you always click that save button, then that click that you made is saved. It goes through an internal process where DEQ staff in climate protection program review and make sure that everything's all set, and then they complete that link. And then what you'll see once that's completed is a green thumbs up, as you would expect. After clicking these, always click the save button. If at any point in the system, you're using the system and you see a little reddish pink save floppy disk from days gone by, click it. Click it frequently, save your work. This allows you to come back to whatever you did before and it is saved. If you do not save it, it's not going to be in the system, right? So got to click that save button. We're going to go to the next page, which will have another opportunity to click a save button, of course. Link your RO account to facilities. So we've done that linking to submittal groups up above, and now I've scrolled down to facility submittal group permissions. And what this looks like is you're adding your own permissions. In some cases, again, those will need to be validated, but we're showing you in the example here, Alaska Tanker Company. What I did was entered in the beginning of my facility name to search it. If you're not seeing it, try a couple different ways that it might be in the system. What also I want to point out to you is that for any given facility, it may actually there may have been migrated over to the system existing permits or activity for land quality, air quality, water quality. One organization could easily be working with multiple submittal groups. And so what you see here is, let's say I want to link with Alaskan Copper and Brass, but I only want to link with their land quality activities because I don't do air quality in my work. Well, then instead of clicking the top one, I go to the bottom one. And why? Because over here, I see a little symbol. There's a little air quality symbol, which is the little cloud. There's a little land quality, which is the earth with a little recycle thing. Water quality is a water droplet. So if you're confused about which facility, if there's multiple of the same facility, that is a clue. That gives you an idea of which ones to pick. And of course, we can help you with that if that gets confusing. Some organizations are going to be a little more complex than others. Once you've clicked the box, after clicking the box for the site, the other thing to do is, if you've clicked that box, you'll see a list of submittal groups that are available for that facility, and you would click the ones that apply. Alaska Tanker Company, well, they work with 4 different groups, but for my purposes as an RO, I only work with these 2 groups. So I've gone ahead and clicked it. Now I see a little orange kind of star. Yeah, I think it's a star. Boy, it's tiny. I've clicked there. It looks like that's going to need to be approved by the program before I can get started on it. Totally fine. They get a ping right away when they log into the system, and they know that that is queued up for them to review. They have a process in place for reviewing that. Gasoline transporter doesn't have any little dot next to it. That's ready to go. I can start on a submittal right away. So once you've picked them, you can see that they pile up. Gasoline transporter, climate protection program, they start to pile up in the picked submittal group section. In order for your selections to be locked in, now you can click the trash can and delete and reselect whatever, but once you've decided, click the plus button. That adds it to your list. But I'm going to say here that whatever you've added to your list here, whatever submittal groups you've clicked on up above, always click the save button before you leave the page. And that's the lower right hand, old-timey floppy disk. Who here remembers, I'm not going to make you raise your hands and admit it, but who remembers floppy disks? I do. So we have that set up. This is a really important part of setup because you can't delegate to a consultant unless you yourself have those permissions. So you can extend now. When you have saved and you click save, you can see, oh, look, here are all my check boxes. They're all saved. Here's my facilities. They now show up as kind of line items that are saved. You can see the little triangle because climate protection program needs its approval. That's totally fine. That'll come through. You click save. And then you move on to the consultants tab. You can't share what you don't already have. That's the thing to remember here. So setting up those facilities and those submittal groups is that important first step. The next important step is to find the exact consultant that you want to delegate to. So here we are on the tab up across the top, basic info, account type, password, PIN, etc. Consultants. Oh, well, let's go ahead and add someone. So you can enter the person's email, and every account is tied to one person and one email address. So you know that if you enter their email address correctly, they will come up. If they have confirmed their account, they will appear. And there should only be one in the results. There should not be more than one. So you can click the link. This is a little chain link right here to link them. And then click the save button for fun. Not for fun, for function, for fun and function, because nothing sticks in the system unless you save it. So you click save. And then once you've done that, oops, I jumped too far ahead. That consultant now appears as one of your consultants. It's kind of a line item, a block in the list of consultants. There's a triangle to the left that you click on. It's a toggle that opens up the ability that populates below, the site submittal permissions, to extend your permissions to them. I'm going to stop here and say, all of this is documented with these screenshots in the user guide for account registration. So if anything here is looking a little like, wait a minute, I was just reading an email, now I'm tuning back in, and where is she in the system? You can always follow along and go through the account registration document. It has screenshots in it. It has step-by-step instructions. It goes over what I go over here. So you would add the site, Alaska Tanker Company. The only sites that will appear here, rather than that whole big list of sites that you can select from for your own links as an RO, the only ones that list here for you to extend are the ones you already have. So if I only associated with Alaska Tanker Company, that's the only one that's going to show here. And then you can go ahead and select which submittal you would like to do for that particular facility. Let's say Alaska Tanker Company does gasoline transporter permits, but they're starting to do some dredge and fill for whatever reason, right? Let's just imagine that. They can select that here. You would go ahead and select whichever one applies. And in this case, it's one at a time for consultants. You would select that, click save, and it appears here. There's one. There's the air quality gasoline transporter permit application. For that same consultant, let's say they do multiple things. Select Alaska Tanker Company again, and then the next submittal type that you would like to associate with them. The reason these are not grouped together, the way they're grouped together when you're setting up your own permissions as an RO, is because there need to be layers of security so that the consultant is only delegated what they need, so that you can add and remove as you like very fluidly, but that has to be separate line items, just kind of the architecture of the system for that. But you can add as many as you already have. You can extend those to that consultant and then always click save. What you're extending to the consultant brings me back to a mention of account types. You're extending to them the ability to prepare submittals, to be active in the system, but not to certify and finalize the submittal. That is always going to be the responsible official's responsibility. And so just remember that you can delegate a bunch to them, but not everything. Click save. And we come to the end of the presentation where I want to point out to you where to find these things. The Your DEQ Online help page is a springboard for so many resources, and that includes, let's see, someone's in the chat. Oh, great. Jessica just posted this link right here in the chat, which goes to that page. So getting started, you can click on the public user account registration page from the help page. You can also find your portal login right here. You can go to the help desk from here and enter a help ticket, which helps us assist you in whatever you need. User guides and program resources are an important part of this page. For any of the programs that are in the system, there are these boxes. You can click the plus on it and it opens up a bunch of information. So if you've opened the plus, it turns into an X. Hazardous waste program starting July 6th, for example, you can see that there's a link to the public account registration page, same for everybody, but there are also user guides listed here. So you can go through any of those user guides. Often we have companion webinars with those. In some cases, for some programs, we don't. The user guide is its own standalone guide. The user guides, we typically include things like screenshots, step-by-step instructions, and they're very helpful. So please do use them. If we run a webinar, we not only post registration and the date that it's available, but afterwards we post the recording whenever possible so that people who couldn't make the specific date can watch the recording. Any questions? It's crickets out there. I have not heard any questions yet. Let's see. Also, this is what the help page looks like. So if you're initiating a ticket, you can go ahead and do a public user request or regulated community request. And thank you. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining us for the webinar. I hope you found useful tidbits and didn't find this trying. I know that these days we're all telecommuting for the most part, many of us are, and it can be tough to add yet another meeting to your day. But I appreciate you being here and joining us. I hope that you found the information useful. Please feel free to get in touch with me if you have any questions. If needed, I can either direct you to the help desk or you can contact the help desk directly if you have any trouble or struggles with setting up your account. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day.